Hey guys, AnY here. And I really kind of wish that I had everything set up to film right away, because my immediate reaction about the ending was like, nah, really an ending gag where everybody is laughing like ho 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 ho. And another of those teaser endings. I mean, we got the shadow figure at the end of Castlevania, the vanishing comic book at the end of Power Ponies. Another one of those with Fluttershy's tea popping out. Two horrible cliches at the end of the episode. I wanted to make videos about this for a long time now, so let me just put it in here as a little bit of a PSA to everybody who produces any kind of medium. No matter if it is a computer game, a movie, a series, whatever. The ending. Second most important aspect of every medium, because this is what leaves the final impression. The opening is the most important part, because if you lose somebody in the first few minutes because they lose interest, then you have already lost. Middle part, okay, it shouldn't suck, obviously, but the second most important part after the opening is the ending. But okay, nevertheless, I'm really getting off topic here. After talking about the ending first, let me give a short roundup of the current situation. As you probably can tell by the, I don't know, setting. Yeah, I am not at home yet. I found a way to watch the episode in Spain. This is my official first impressions video, recorded actually on the very same day the episode Bats came out. Now you know that this video has been recorded 2 weeks ago. And knowing is half the battle. AnY. Okay, this doesn't even begin to make sense. I'm probably going to delete most of this in the final editing video, because this is redundant and boring. Nevertheless, let's talk about the episode after all. First of all, the trend continues that every episode, except the one CMC episode we had so far, includes all of the main 6. They try to give everybody a little bit a line here and there. Obviously, there are characters with more focus, like in this one has been Applejack and Fluttershy. Twilight was pretty much there for delivering the spell and nothing else. Overall, I believe this episode was the first real head-scratcher for me, because it is easier to accept a lot of nonsense when an episode is going for humor, like Castlevania did and Power Ponies. This one did not go for comedy. Okay, I did not dislike it. Let's start with this. I did not dislike it. There were really interesting elements. Bad ponies. Okay. I mean, we just got, I believe, a few weeks or maybe 2 months ago confirmed that bad ponies are a species by themselves. We got this confirmed by the show stuff. Now we have one bad pony that is not a guard for Luna, and it turns out that it has been created through a backfiring spell, a unicorn, or actually an alicorn, used on vampire bats, transferred their desire to be vampire bats to the one pony that is there and putting them in trance with its there. So has every bad pony in Luna's army been created that way? I mean, okay, so far we only have seen 2, but this does not really fit too much with the whole they are species in themselves confirmation we just got. This is what am I going to do with this? I mean, I liked the bad Fluttershy design. This was pretty amazing. I guess I can suspend my disbelief when I say, okay, there are different ways to create vampire bats. So there are the natural ones, and there are the ones that get created through very strange circumstances, and that just happen to look very much like the bad ponies that have already been declared canon. I really wanted to like the idea that a bad pony was introduced. I saw on Equestria Daily the image for this episode has been an image of a bad pony. Then I watched the episode and it started out with actual bats, and I was like, okay, no bad ponies. At this point it was a little bit like, oh, I would have liked an episode about bad ponies. And then Fluttershy turned into a bad pony by a vampire that eats apples. Kid show after all. The idea of vampire bats sucking out apples, I mean, we got Marceline in Adventure Time who sucks out the color red out of things, making a more child-friendly, more entertaining approach to the whole vampire sucking stuff is good, I guess. So let's move on to the next aspect. This is actually more a small one. I like Dashy's obsession with cider in Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000, but this time not comic relief obsession anymore. This is addiction we are witnessing here. Tommy just came up with the headcanon that Rarity is a drinker after Daring Don't. I guess the second of the main six just got her drinking problem canonized. Yeah, looks like Fluttershy wasn't the only apple-addicted pony in this episode. Just on a side note, a twilight spell that backfires? Who has ever heard of one of those? Swarm of the Century, Lesson 0, it's about time. And of course, you cannot have an episode with a song without talking about the song. This particular one, it was definitively not as catchy as many other songs during the series. Was interesting so. I mean, we got this very narrative style back and forward discussion between Fluttershy and Applejack. And because it was a musical number, we went a little bit extreme with the imagery and with the reaction of the others. I mean, like Verity was like da-dum during the song. After the song, she reacts like we would suspect her to act. Like, oh dear, you see, I'm totally siding with Applejack on that one. Even so, it went back and forth a little bit too often, I believe. They could have cut it in half. Because the second stanza didn't really tell us anything about their points of views they haven't already in the first one. And the third one, where they got all in Whaley mode and like, blame Canada, blame Canada. It actually had a little bit, I'm not sure if my association was right, I haven't rewatched it yet, but I believe this went into the kind of spooky extreme version of music. Like, for example, in, I believe Nightmare Before Christmas is a fitting example. Less a song I would put into my playlist to listen to every now and then, but an interesting song to watch as a part of an episode. What the heck did I write down here? Mind control? Pinky something control. I have no idea. Oh, main. Okay, another head scratcher like Pinky's control over her mane. I have no problem with suspension of disbelief to say there is a lot of stuff they can do with their manes, with their wings, with their tails that go beyond what can be done in reality. But her ability to actually move her mane like, I don't know, a hand or anything. She was able to grab something. She was able to move her. I mean, it's Pinky being Pinky, I guess. Okay, Pinky in general in this episode. Her gags were kind of hit and miss. She was more insane and less silly than she has been so far in season 4. So I guess this is a step up. Oh god, she delivered the horrible ending gag, didn't she? Like with the teeth. Oh, Pinky, why? I'm glad that they broke with a few of the cliches I was afraid I had to witness. We first had the thing with the big apple and I was like, oh great, now it will backfire and they will eat the apple. But no, actually, Applejack made this turn when she was like, I don't care anymore about the apples, I want my friend back, which was a very strong line. And I was expecting a bigger clash, and this kind of showing sense on the end of the ponies. I was positively surprised. I was like, okay, yes. And she was willing to sacrifice this ridiculously big apple. Oh my god, this apple. When he first was revealed, I was like, oh my god, this is so cartoony. But yeah, what they did with it in the end, when Applejack is like, I sacrifice this apple to get my friend back. It was played subtle, even though it was an amazingly strong message. Which I really find this interesting. Usually they take the sledgehammer, when they have a message like this, they take the sledgehammer and are like, do you get it? It is about friendship or whatever. And they don't go too deep into it. They just go like, hey, it's what we have to do. And they do it. And I like that they don't play the sacrifice too big, which would really have been annoying, I believe. I was also kind of afraid when they were like, in the discussion at the opening that Fluttershy explained what is the solution, that the bats actually do good, and AJ was like, oh no. I also saw it coming like that they get the bats and they take them away, and in the end it turns out that there are no new seeds because of the apples, and that Sweet Apple Anchors is kind of falling apart because the bats have been an important part of the whole apple growth economy. And even so, I had already scratched my head like, okay, they never do time lapses. How are they going to introduce this concept? But I am actually happy that they did not introduce it at all, that the acre is falling apart and then they need to get the bats back. Yeah, another actual journal entry. This time it's not Dashi writing her own thingy down. We don't get the whole dictating the literal text like we got with the friendship letters in the past. We more got Spike, who is kind of summarizing what he wrote, and the other people are telling him what to include. I still really like the whole journal aspect. I still like it more than the letters, because the letters, as I said in an earlier episode, watch my older episodes, where I already explained kind of why I prefer the journal as an idea over the letters. Even so, I personally don't need to get the message rubbed into my face at the end of an episode. But hey, the original demographic of this show were still smaller folks, and I guess it's not wrong to give them the good message to take away a little bit more literal. And to throw in a few more nitpicks, just for good measure, the screen Twilight created with, I believe even the sounds were very sci-fi-like, and I don't want to use this poor bamboos-eating animal at this point, but I dare to say this particular visual they used there was with a certain part of the viewership in mind. I like when they throw pandas at me, but it should not feel out of place. It's a fantasy setting, so no grids with hollow screens and stuff like this is kind of weird. It always is strange when it comes down to statements like this in regards to a show about candy-colored horses who do magic tricks and stuff. So yeah, to sum things up, this episode, Bats, was for me a mixed bag. There were elements I really liked. I mean, the atmosphere they created was great. I liked the flutter bat design. I liked quite a few of the jokes. I liked twists they put on otherwise overused themes. But there were also a few head-scratcher moments that really were a bit too much for me. It is definitively an episode I would like to watch again. There were more than enough interesting elements for me to get my attention, but it will probably continue to be an episode where I'd be like, couldn't you have done this a different way? I guess basically it's a good episode with a bit too many moments for nitpicking and head scratching. As always, it needs a second watch through to give a more elaborate verdict, but my first impression was that it was, I guess, more of an interesting episode than a really good one. But hey, interesting still counts as entertaining, so it still ends up rather on my nice than on my naughty list. This is AnY saying, see you soon.